Well, I think my excitement comes from several different directions. One, just as a viewer, I just have noticed over the years in my own taste and looking at the lines outside of movie theaters, for example, that people really want more than, let's say, core mainstream media. And, if you go back 100 years to San Francisco, you had 20 newspapers, and that was the technology of its day. And then that business kind of consolidated for economic reasons. And if you look at the media business 10 years ago, consolidation was what's happening, particularly in the video and television space. Cable came along and started to crack open the 3 networks, and we went to 12 channels and then eventually to 100 channels. And when that happens, you don't just get 100 more NBCs. You get MTV, you get CNN, you get ESPN, you get the Discovery Channel, you get C-SPAN, you get a kind of a proliferation of points of view. And if the technology can make that economic, there's a lot of audience interest. I tell people, if I go to your house and I look at the books that you have in your house, I'll bet you anything there's a handful of books that are in my house and in your house too. Kind of bestsellers, well-known titles. But then there's these other 99 books that are in your house that are not in mine, and are in my house and not in yours. So that's kind of our fingerprint. That's who we are. That's our background, our taste, our family life and history, and that's our signature. And I think in the television business and in the media business, specifically video, for a while the studio system had kind of crunched that down and said, look, there may not be 3 networks, but there's 7 studios, and we make these action pictures and we make these romantic comedies, and that's all there is. And so the first thing that got me interested was just working with the San Francisco Film Festival and noticing what a real passionate interest there is in foreign films, independent films, films from other countries, films made on a shoestring. They don't have the production values of a great Bruce Willis shoot 'em up, and I like those kind of movies too. But the internet seemed like a platform that could make it easy and economic. And I looked at what happened to, let's call it, text and photos when the internet blossomed in the early 90s. And all of a sudden there were a lot of new channels, if you want to use that metaphor, but a lot of new voices, a lot of new points of view, a lot of new functions. And I thought, hey, this needs to happen, because people were starting to get their news from television. And people were starting to get their sort of primary media. Now there's a debate today whether people are spending more time on the internet or more time on television, or which generations are spending how much time. But clearly there was an opportunity for a kind of blossoming of points of view in video, which is the primary form in sort of advanced societies to get information. And it seemed to me just interesting, and there'd be an audience, and there'd be a chance to, one of the things I love about Amazon, if I want to buy a bestseller, I don't really need Amazon. I can go to Walgreens and they have the bestsellers 1 through 10 just listed there. I don't even need a bookstore. But if I want to buy the 200,000th best-selling book on C++ programming, then Amazon is absolutely untouchable as a resource. And I thought, hey, there ought to be something like that for video, where I can see great older films, I can see rep, I can see indie, I can see films with different political points of view, I can see foreign films, I can see student films. That ought to be sort of online all the time, a few mouse clicks away. That's really where it needed to go. It doesn't need 100 channels, it doesn't need 1,000 channels, it needs 100 million channels for people to find things. And then you have these traditional problems. How do you find things? What's the economic model? It's far from all figured out.